Hello and welcome to Sports Bar. I'm your host, Travis Stanley, with your panelists, Braxton, Sam, and Jack. Thanks for joining us for another episode, and let's get right to it. Guys, first of all, past weekend, App State played Idaho. App won 37-19 in a game where really they controlled things from start to finish in some capacity. And before we get to that conversation, we are going to go to a highlight clip of the game.
Shea Metters, the wide out to the short side right. Lamb play fakes. Taylor wants to throw. Fires left. It is caught by Zy Letman. From Bentley Critcher. Rubino puts it airborne and through. Second down 8 for the Mountaineers 39. Linehan play fakes. Back to throw. Wants the deep ball. Not there. Checks it down underneath. It's caught. Stringer. Big tackle on the fullback, Josh Herman, after only a gain of a couple. Third down 8 from the 22. Lamb shotgun. Idaho rushes 3. Lamb pumps. Fires. Caught by Mock Adams. Makes a move and stays on his feet to the middle of the field.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Handoff, Darrington Evans, big hole 20. Evans 15, the freshman to the 10, down to the 5, and spins down at the 2. Lamb on the read option will keep it himself and waltz into the end zone. Jalen Moore in it, running back, starting again for Marcus Cox. Lamb looking deep on first down, throws out to the left. It is caught along the sideline. There's the first catch of the second half for Shea Metters. Lamb's going to throw again on first down over the middle. Wide open Metters again at the 45 of Idaho. Lamb to throw, 2nd and 3, slant route. That's Metters again, makes the catch, staying on his feet down to the 10-yard line. From the left hash, Kutcher gets it down, Rubino puts it airborne, and it is good again. 2 tight ends in there for Idaho. 2nd down and 8, here comes pressure. Linehan throws, it's intercepted! Picked off by the Mountaineers, this is gonna go for a pick 6. Clifton Duck down the right sideline, and he'll take it in. That's an App State touchdown, and a huge play in this third quarter for the true freshman Clifton Duck. Third catch of the game for Letman for 30 yards. 1st and 10 from the 40. Lamb looks deep, fires down the middle of the field. Letman again, he goes up and he makes the grab down to the 10-yard line. Kutcher gets it down once again, and Rubino puts it through. 2nd down from the 9. Play fake, Linehan to throw. Half roll to the left. Here comes pressure from Gilchrist, who drops him back at the 20-yard line. Play fake, Linehan to throw all day on first down. Fires high, it's intercepted again. Josh Thomas picks it off. Across the 45 goes Thomas into Idaho territory, down the left sideline and out of bounds at the 29. 2nd interception of the game for the Mountaineer defense. Josh Thomas with his first of the year. Lamb shotgun brings Capel in motion. Handoff, Jalen Moore up the middle. Patient running, and Jalen Moore dives forward. That's an App State touchdown for Jalen Moore, his first of the game. Shotgun Linehan. Mountaineers rush for. Linehan has time. Going to air it out down the right sideline. Clifton Duck battling with the receiver. He goes up and he intercepts it. Idaho looking for its first touchdown of the game. Handoff Saunders. He's dropped in the backfield. What a play by Nate Norwood. Caruso throws to the end zone, finds Dante Jones. That's an App State touchdown. J.P. Caruso to Dante Jones, and the Apps are on the board again.
Keep up to date with the Black and Gold on and off the field by following the Mountaineers on Twitter at @AppState_FB.
Guys, having just seen the highlights there and having went to the game yourself, what stood out to you? Just looking simply at the stats, I mean, Jalen Moore had another over 100-yard day. He rushed for 114 yards. Taylor Lamb, probably, I would say, the passing game's best performance of the entire season. He passed for 220 yards. Metters went for over 100 yards receiving again. And you had a guy like Zy Letman, who really hadn't been able to play much of a role so far this year. Had 68 yards receiving, one terrific grab that you saw on the highlight there, where full extension. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Clifton Duck, 2 picks, took one to the house. So of all of that, what stood out most to all of you? Jack, I'll start.
I think the biggest thing is we always focus on App State as being a running team, but definitely in this game we saw a little more of the passing attack that we've been wanting to see all season. Taylor Lamb really opened up, really read the field well, was passing it around, was dishing it out very well. And I think he just had a very solid game. And I know I've been picking on the defensive backs in the past couple of weeks about how a lot of times we get burned, but they had an awesome game this week. Clifton Duck played very well.
Yeah, I think this was just the complete game when you looked at it from start to finish. The passing was there. Obviously, with Taylor Lamb, his best passing performance of the season, most consistent, I would say. The running game, it's always there. It was there again this weekend. And now the defensive backs, like Jack was saying, the defensive backs finally got into the game, causing turnovers. And that's where games are won and lost, is in the turnover margin. So it was really just a great complete game and a real pleasure to see put everything together.
Braxton, what stuck out to you?
Our passing game was great. App threw the ball well, Taylor Lamb for sure. But still, Idaho out-threw App by, I think, maybe 48 yards.
Something to that effect.
Something like that. And then, but at the same time, App outran Idaho by 70 yards. So those perspectives kind of switch, but the total yards gained in the whole game was maybe 18 yards in difference.
Yeah.
So as total yards is pretty similar. So you would expect that to reflect on the score, but App clearly blew them out. But the turnover margin was just what won the game.
Yeah, a lot of those yards for Idaho were late yards, kind of once the game was already kind of in hand.
And the touchdown was as well, and that was
Exactly.
the first touchdown that App had allowed in conference play.
Yeah, it stings to give up that first touchdown in conference play, but I think all of us will take one touchdown through 3 conference games, and possibly quickly. They play Georgia Southern on a short week this Thursday. Georgia Southern has had really a decent year, but I would say, under the expectations of what a Georgia Southern season would be. I look for App to manhandle them personally, but Braxton, I'll start with you. What might you see out of that game?
Well, same from you. They're gonna manhandle basically everybody in the conference. They've outscored everyone 68-22, and that one touchdown was with 4 seconds left in the game,
Yeah.
and it was an 8-yard score.
Exactly.
Everyone in the conference, like I said last week, is just not up to par with what App State is. It's just everyone they're going to play, they're going to beat pretty handily.
Yeah, and that game, ESPNU, Thursday night, I believe it's a 7:30 kick there in Paulson Stadium.
And of course, it's a rivalry game, so you can't
Exactly,
really always expect that.
Always a rivalry game, and it'll be a good deal warmer, at least down there for the boys, than it was here on the mountain this past week. I believe it'll be somewhere in the low 80s for that kickoff, but definitely better weather there in Georgia. Our wrestling team has been making strides in the past few years, building a program that has been ranked among the top college wrestling programs in the country. With Coach John Mark Bentley's help, 3 of our wrestlers have been ranked within the top 20 in the nation. Jack, I turn to you here. What do you feel like has really helped the wrestling program kind of be where it is right now?
Well, I think they've had a really solid season, really solid recruiting, because we have a strong senior in Denzel, who's ranked number 10 in the country. Was ranked number 11 at the end. Went 29-4 last season. Only lost 4 matches.
That's for heavyweight, correct?
That's for heavyweight, yes, sir. And so he'll have a good season this year. Hopefully he won't lose any matches this year. Then we've got 2 strong juniors that are really holding it down. So I think overall we'll have a good team this year.
And that starts in 2 weeks, right?
Correct. Starts in 2 weeks. So definitely we'll see how their season plays out. I went to high school with a few of the guys on the team, so I'll definitely probably try to attend and root on some home boys there and see how that works out. But moving from wrestling quickly to women's soccer, they won in dramatic fashion on Sunday 4-3. And they will be the 4th seed in the conference tournament. Their first game in the conference tournament will be next Wednesday at 5:30 against UL Lafayette there in Alabama. And Braxton, I know you were at the game on Sunday. Already said it, 4-3 overtime. Anyone that I've spoken to that was there said it was just a wonderful atmosphere and a great game to be at.
No doubt. And another point, they're not just in the conference play. With the win against Southern Alabama, they also make the NCAA tournament play.
Yeah.
So that was a huge win. And for the game itself, it was more like a heartbreak to hero type scenario, because they were winning 3-2 for most of the second half. And then with 1:30 left, Southern Alabama puts one in the back of the net to tie the game at 3. And at that point, App State, they're a pretty senior-heavy team, and they're all like, oh, no. At that point, it's like just utter despair. And then they go to overtime, of course. Nobody scores in the first period. Second period, It appeared that there should have been a foul call just outside the box, maybe 30 seconds left, but it wasn't. The ball was kicked out of play and then kicked back in to Allie Klein. Off a deflection, she slipped through 2 defenders and then put one just past the keeper. And it was 15.4 seconds left. Talk about dramatic. I mean, you just don't see stuff like that in soccer. It's like a buzzer beater in soccer. It's just amazing. It's amazing.
And as a side note, I personally believe that we have one of the nicer soccer facilities in our conference.
Yeah.
So I would definitely encourage anyone who hasn't already been out there to watch a game to do so. It's definitely further away from campus on 421 there.
Yeah, it's about five minutes.
You hang that right. But yeah, I would encourage anyone to go out there, and hopefully the Apps will play well in the conference tournament, and like you said, possibly in the NCAA tournament as well. We'll be right back here on Sports Bar after this.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
This week on Mountaineer Spotlight, our associate producer John followed our producer Carlin to Charlotte. Twice a week she travels down to practice with Cheer Athletics King Cats. We wanted to follow her to get an inside look at competitive all-star cheerleading. Take a look.
Caroline should not go once she's out either.
Like all the girl doubles need to go together.
My name is Michael Wright, and I'm a cheerleading coach at Cheer Athletics Charlotte. So you have time to move. 5, 6, move, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my 7th year coaching all-star competitive cheerleading. I also run the social media for here, and I'm also a director for camps and training. Our main goal is to always hit 0. Hitting 0 is like the best thing about cheerleading. That means you hit your routine full out with 0 mistakes. It's not about winning. It's not about placing top 3. You know, if your athletes hit 0 and hit the best routine they could do, they did their best job.
8, 2, 3, 4.
5, tight, 7, tight, 8, 1,
2, 3, 4,
5, 7. A senior team in our gym practices anywhere between 5 to 8 hours per team per week. That's 2 different practices, and then around competition season, we add additional practices. So that could be an additional 3 hours.
4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1.
That was better. Hey, 2 more times, go. Shh. Competitive cheerleading is definitely a sport. It's more than just an activity. It is a collection of routines with different elements in it. So you have tumbling, you have stunts, baskets, everything jam-packed in the 2.5 minutes, and it is definitely 110% a sport. 7, arms, arms, arms.
Now turning our attention from competitive cheerleading to Major League Baseball. Guys, the Cubs and Indians series, that's obviously set now. They play the first game tomorrow night, Tuesday. That's a 8 p.m. first pitch. And, you know, obviously the series hasn't started yet, but both of them, you know, we've seen them play all throughout the playoffs. And so I wanted to ask each of you what you felt that your determining factor would be in this series for, you know, whether or not the Indians are successful or the Cubs are successful. And Jack, I'll start with you.
Well, I think when you look at these 2 teams, we've got one team that has good pitching but very strong bats, and the other team with the Cleveland Indians being a very good pitching team, and their bats aren't as good or aren't up to par as the Cubs. So I think the Indians need to focus on their pitching. They'll obviously went through the playoffs. They blanked the Red Sox. Excuse me. They blanked the Red Sox in that the Red Sox came in as one of the best hitting teams in baseball, and they came in and completely shut them out as far
Rub
as
it in.
Yeah.
Rub it in, Jack.
As far as they had an outstanding pitching performance from their whole rotation, and they looked to do the same thing against the Cubs. Now the Cubs came into the playoffs going against one of the better pitchers in baseball with Clayton Kershaw. And there's a game or two there that we thought, maybe the Cubs might falter and they might not make it, but those last couple games, they just showed that they are the dominant team as far as hitting. So I think they look for the Cubs to really let their bats be showing how good they are.
Sam?
When I think of factors that will allow each team to win, I think of two people. I think of Addison Russell for the Cubs, because when you look at the two games during the NLCS, the Cubs, I don't think they scored. If they did, they only scored 1, maybe 2 runs in those 2 games. Their offense was completely stagnant. And then that 4th game, Addison Russell finally gets his bat going. He and Anthony Rizzo, and then you get to the game, you get to the 5th game, and the bats are just exploding for the Cubs. So I think from the Cubs side, they got to keep all the bats hot, but specifically Addison Russell. And then on the other side, Andrew Miller, I think he's the best pitcher. He's the best pitcher in the series. He's the relief pitcher. I think when Terry Francona went out and got Andrew Miller, everyone knew that they were gearing up for a really deep postseason run. So I think this matchup might actually come down to how well those 2 specific guys perform on this big stage.
And Braxton, I know you're itching to talk some baseball.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, Andrew Miller is one of the first that we've seen of being a bullpen pitcher, being the headliner of the team. We've seen the Royals bullpen being the headliner of the team, but it wasn't a specific pitcher. Now it's Andrew Miller is the guy for the Indians. But other than Andrew Miller, everything the Indians do well, the Cubs do better. The pitching staff, Indians pitching staff, don't get me wrong, it's very, very good. But when you talk about having John Lester, Jake Arrieta, Kyle Hendricks, these 3 guys, and then you got other ones as well, can basically one-up them. Their offense is, like Jack mentioned, is better. Their defense is better. Not taking away what the Indians do well, because they've gotten here because they're very, very good. But the Cubs just do better in most everything except for having, Andrew Miller. And then they've got, of course, a strong bullpen as well with a Chapman as well at the back end of that bullpen. So
yeah, and like I said, the first game of the series tomorrow night, 8 p.m. So we can talk about it all day long, but until the first pitch, we don't really know exactly how the series will work itself out. But I'm sure it'll be an exciting one. Mm-hmm. Moving to the NFL. We were talking about pre-show, and I was joking, saying that the Panthers, they beat the heck out of the open week this week. Got a nice, they didn't get a W, but they didn't catch another L either.
That's right.
So I was happy about that. But obviously they didn't play. So, what stood out for each of you just about the week of football, the week that was in the NFL? Jack?
Well, I think we saw a very strong performance from the Eagles. Even though there were a lot of turnovers, we saw that they were being saved by their defense. I know our producer Rob will like that very much.
Very much so.
But we did see a very strong defensive showing from the Eagles and the Vikings as well. But that was just a heck of a game where I think it was 5 turnovers in the first 4 possessions, or 5 turnovers in the first 6 possessions, I think is what it was. So I think look out for the Eagles, but also even though the Vikings lost this week, it was up against a very good defense, so still keep them in your thoughts for the playoff race. I think they'll still do very well.
Yeah, 1 loss in 1 game is usually not indicative of the rest of the season, but the Eagles certainly did look very impressive yesterday. Sam?
Yeah, the only game I really got the chance to sit down and watch was the Patriots and the Steelers, and I think what we saw from that game was, Tom Brady, he put up good numbers. He didn't put up real Tom Brady type numbers though, but what you see is that I think the Patriots at this point in the season are the best all-around team still. I still think they are. Gronk is finally healthy. I think at one point he had four catches for 90-some yards. So and Tom Brady's back, and LeGarrette Blount had a great game too, just being real patient, waiting for the blocks to pick up. And the Steelers' defense hasn't been the best defense in the league, but it's still not. They're still not a wash on the defense. So I think what you saw there was the best all-around team putting it together on the road and coming out with a solid win.
Yeah, definitely. Braxton?
I'd take a similar direction as Sam did, just basically focusing on the Patriots. Because clearly in my mind, and I'm wrong all the time, I get that, but to me the Patriots are clearly far and above the best team in the NFL. I mean, the NFC has not panned out as far as the Panthers and the Cardinals being one of the best teams. The Seahawks aren't playing all that well. I mean, 6 points in a game, really.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Vikings are playing good, but their defense is strong, but their offense has not been all that great. So there's really nobody in the NFC. I mean, the Cowboys are good, but I don't see them making it all that far. So really, it's just the Patriots in my mind as being the best team to get there this year.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was just 2 of the games that was on this past weekend. But those 2 games have players that play in those games, and all those players are also in fantasy leagues. So we'll go ahead and we'll turn to our fantasy league scoreboard with our teams, and then we'll take a look at those individual scores for each of those matchups.
Clever how you pull that in there.
I try, Braxton. So yeah, taking a look here. I'm not having a very good week. 97-60. Greg is beating me pretty bad, and really my team has not played well. But you can see the other one. Sam is obviously having a very good week, 134. Adam Winton is going to take another L, looks like, and Carlin is whipping up on Jack. But we'll go ahead and jump straight to the individual matchups and take a closer look at why people are either winning or losing here. And guys, taking a look at this matchup, this is Jack and Carlin. Jack, I mean, what has went wrong for you this week?
I think the biggest thing is I have Ezekiel Elliott's on a bye week.
Yep.
He's been my big guy this week. Greg Olsen also on a bye week. Eddie Lacy's hurt. I didn't really have a good game for my running backs. Usually Ezekiel Elliott, I can count on him for more than 10 points. Devontae Freeman only got me 9. Also looking at the receivers, only got 2 points from Amari Cooper, so not very good game there.
Yeah.
And then only 2 points from the New England defense. I was expecting a much better game from them, thinking that Landry Jones would throw a lot more interceptions than he did. But if you just look at what Carlin's done, 25 points from Matt Forte.
Out of the flex position.
Out of the flex position was just crazy. And he had a fumble and still had 25 points. And then the Giants defense had 20 points. So it's just, she really put it together. I think she put together a solid team this week. But I think I'll bounce back. Hopefully I will.
I think you will too. But 25 points out of the flex, I mean, that's usually sugar on top, and you don't expect that. But we'll go ahead and move forward to another matchup here. And looking at this matchup, Sam, I already mentioned you had a terrific week this week, 134. Same to you. What's been working to make you successful this week?
Oh, well, I mean, I know you guys like to give me some crap over it, but it's the Patriots lineup. I got Tom Brady, and Julian Edelman didn't give me the production I was hoping for. He had a fumble there, which knocked him back a few points. And then, like I said, Gronk is finally starting to put things together off of his injury. So when everybody on your lineup but one person scores in double digits, you're probably going to have a pretty good day. And I really think, at least in my experience, the winners and the losers are sorted out there in the bottom half of the lineup. I think everybody can expect good performances out of your quarterbacks and starting running backs, but your flex, your defense, and your kicker, I think they can get you some secret points that not everybody's looking for. And
yeah, I mean, 10 points out of your kicker and 10 points out of your defense, respectively, really goes a long way in getting you a win week in and week out. So,
and when you have a kicker who's made, 43 straight field goals, hasn't missed in 43 tries, I think.
Yeah. So,
and he's like 43 years old.
I'll keep him in.
Joey has one player to play, C.J. Anderson, but I think he got that on lockdown. And we'll go ahead and move to the next matchup. And this is my matchup. I'm playing Greg, and I have not had a very good week. And a lot of that was just due to people just simply not playing up to the standard that I would assume they would play. Outside of Andrew Luck getting 27, you just said it. I mean, Le'Veon Bell had a pretty good week. Andrew Luck had a pretty good week. But LaShawn McCoy, he was questionable, but I didn't want to not put him in there. And he didn't, play as much. I
think the big thing there
1
is
point.
Jordy Nelson getting you 0 points.
Yeah,
that's
Jordy Nelson was, and that being said, Aaron Rodgers had a career day.
Yeah, he had a great day.
So, airing it out to everyone except who I have on my fantasy team.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to write a personal letter to Aaron Rodgers explaining how that I don't care if you win or not, but make sure you pass to the guys I have on my fantasy team.
Yeah.
But I definitely take the L this week. Greg will improve to 6-1, man. Just really dominating so far. So I'll fall to 4-3, and hopefully I'll be able to pull it out next week. And moving on to the fourth and final matchup. And this is Rob's matchup here. And to this point, he is in the lead. And I'm not sure. Let me check here. This matchup is already over. So Rob has gotten the W here. I wasn't sure if Adam had anyone left to play, but you know, Rob is also had a very good season. He'll improve to 5-2. Adam, we've discussed it at length, but he'll fall to 0-7. His season has not been that terrific, but you know, really nothing outside of the Eagles' defense. 25 points. Wow, for Rob. But outside of that, a fairly mediocre performance by everyone.
Yeah.
But just, you know, everyone chipping in and kind of doing their part.
Well, it also helps that he has Adrian Peterson starting, and I don't think he's supposed to play the rest of the season. So, you know, you got
Adam, that is, yeah.
Right. So
Adam has 3 players that got 0 points.
Exactly.
Exactly.
One on IR. Doug Martin was already ruled out. But that aside, a nice, solid performance by Rob this week, and again, he'll improve to 5-2. But that does it for Sports Bar. Thanks for joining us, and I'm Travis Stanley. I'll see you next time. Good night.